$300,000 in paid business. So, welcome up to the stage, Jamie Chirio.
How we doing? All right, so first things first, I said this on social media last week, and I wanted to make sure I started with this. I think that if you're in the insurance industry, there's no doubt in the world that you should be working for Family First Life. But I think that if you're selling, period, you should be working for Family First Life. This is such an incredible opportunity. I come from a background where I've done a handful of opportunities, and I searched for opportunity to find my home, and I'm just so grateful to be able to be here. So I look back at when I first got started, and I'm sure that there's so many people here who are brand new, or you've been here for just a couple of months, and you can relate to, I just got done with my first dial day, and now I get to go sit with 7 families tomorrow. What do I say? I'm terrified. My upline told me all I have to do is just go there, get to the financial inventory, and then call them when I'm at home. Anybody else feel terrified when their upline told them that? Raise your hand. I know that I did. Grady said, trust me, faith in the process. If you call me, I'll be there. I'll be the quarterback in your ear. But one of the things that I really was wanting to prepare for is I said, well, what if I don't know what to say? What if I forget what to say until I get to that point where I can call Grady? And there's this video by Paul McLean in our boot camp called 8 Steps to a Final Expense In-Home. I was running final expense leads, and I said, man, I just wish that I could take these notes into the home with me. What if I could take these notes into the home with me? The light bulb went off, and I decided to take those notes into the home with me. All I did was I wrote down 8 Steps to a Final Expense In-Home, and I wrote the word agenda at the top. And I had a light bulb go off for me. I sat this down in front of the client, and I said, here's what we're going to do today. Then I had a cheat sheet, and in case I forgot what I was gonna say, I knew what to refer back to. So that's what we're gonna go through today. It's something that has absolutely changed my business. It changed everything that I've been able to do here, especially when it comes to a selling perspective, not a building perspective. There's 2 different muscles, your selling muscle, your building muscle. We're talking about your selling muscle right now. So increasing credibility, reducing sales pressure. That's the first thing I want you all to write down. Increase credibility, reduce sales pressure. I say, here's what we're gonna do today, and I walk them through that. That increases credibility, reduces the sales pressure. I'm in control. By increasing credibility and reducing sales pressure, that's how I've been able to issue, I just did the math, $340,000 in my first 9 months, and it's just an incredible blessing. So I could not thank Sean. I've got a little baby boy on the way in the next 2 months, 3 months, and this is the most confident I've ever been to be a provider for my family. So if you're struggling to go all in, please go all in. So the in-home agenda. So 8 steps, we're just gonna go through them. I'm going to give you all the steps to write down, and I'm gonna break it down, and I'm gonna give you the word tracks on exactly what I say from top to bottom of the in-home. We're gonna skip over the financial inventory, because that's the point where you're gonna call your manager, and I'm not gonna give any underwriting guidelines here. So first things first is, number 1, why are we here? Okay, so everyone write down number 1, why. Number 2 is what? What does it look like if the insurance isn't in place? So number 1, why. Number 2, what. Number 3, who? Who am I? Number 4, the process. Here's what we're gonna do today. So why, what, who, the process. Our goals. What are we here to accomplish today? Number 6, the financial inventory. Client suitability worksheet, whatever you wanna call it. Number 7, the quotes, the options. And number 8, we're gonna see if you qualify. We're gonna submit an application. So let's go through it. So I'm sitting down with Clay, 65, smoker, single, and he's got a couple of adult children. I'm sorry I'm pushing that situation, but I sit down with Clay. The first thing that I do is I open up my bag, I pull out the lead card, the card that he filled out. Whether it be a direct mail card that actually has his handwriting on it, or it's one of those instant internet inquiries where, you can't necessarily prove that they filled it out, it just has their info on it. Let's say it's instant internet inquiry just because it's the most common. I slide that across the table to Clay and I say, hey, can you just confirm for me that all this information is correct?
It is.
It's correct. Your name's spelled correct, your birthday's correct, address is correct, phone number's correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So here's my state license. Now I slide my state license across the table just so you can verify that I'm not some crazy person, okay? Cool. All right, so can you tell me a little bit more about why you went ahead and filled this out?
I just wanted to make sure that my kids didn't have to pay for my funeral in case something happened to me.
Okay, so what you're telling me is you wanted to make sure that your daughter, Mary, if you passed away, she's not gonna have to dig into her own pocket, take away any food off her table to make sure that you can get buried. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
Perfect. So with the why, the number 1 thing y'all need to do is you need to re-voice back to them why they filled it out. They can give you the why, but you need that double confirmation. So they gave you the why. I filled it out because I wanted to make sure that Mary didn't have to deal with it. But now I said, okay, so here's what you're telling me. You're telling me you filled it out for this reason. He confirms to me. Now I can move on with the process. Number two, all right, so what does it look like if you're not here? What does that look like for Mary?
I mean, I've got a couple of, I've got about $5,000 in savings, and that's about it, really. That's why you're here.
Okay, perfect. So that's exactly why we're here. So we want to make sure, once again, revoicing back to them, that if you pass away, there's only $5,000 in savings. Well, because you don't have a wife, that's going to go into probate, number one. You don't set this up in your will and everything properly. She doesn't even have access to your bank account, so she's going to need to dig into her bank account for $10,000. That's what we're got. Okay, perfect. Number three, here's who I am. So now I've gone through and I know exactly why I'm there. I know what it's going to look like. And I say, okay, perfect. So I don't have a fancy sales presentation for you. Disarm. Increase credibility, reduce sales pressure. I'm not even the sales guy. I'm just the underwriter. Okay? Well, here's what I also am. I'm also a broker, and I'm also a non-captive agent. At this point, I've got that fancy credibility sheet with all the logos on it, and I'm waving my hand over top of the logos. I'm a broker. What that means is I work with all of the companies. I don't work for any of the companies. I'm not loyal to any of them. I'm loyal to you. I'm also what's called a non-captive agent. Captive is like State Farm or Allstate. If I worked for State Farm, I'd be required to show you State Farm. Whereas I have the ability to shop around and find the best thing for you. Does that make sense?
It does.
Perfect. So I got another confirmation I can continue to proceed with the process. So number four, here's what we're going to do today. So Clay, what we're going to do is we're going to spend about 2 or 3 minutes on health and finance questions. Based on how you answer those questions, we're going to go ahead and I'll show you a couple of options. Should any of those options make sense for you and your family, they're comfortable, they're affordable, you can actually qualify, we're going to submit a request for coverage today to make sure you're medically eligible. Does that make sense?
So we're gonna do this today?
Oh yeah. So most people, here in this situation, what most people do is we're gonna submit a request for coverage to find out if you're even eligible, because at the end of the day, just like you might wanna think about it, the insurance company needs to think about you, so we can't even commit to anything today until the insurance company commits to you. So let's go ahead and get started, okay?
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, perfect. So here's what we're gonna do today. Number 5, we have 3 things we're gonna accomplish. Right at the top of the financial inventory, we're gonna find out if you can afford it. We're gonna find out if you can qualify for it. And number 2, we're gonna make sure, or number 3, we're gonna make sure that you understand it. Now at this point, we're going through the actual financial inventory. I'm just asking them basic questions. Are you a smoker, non-smoker? What medications do you take? And I think this is a very big key phrase that all of you guys need to write down. I ask Clay what medications he's taking. He tells me, high blood pressure, this, that, whatever. Okay, Clay, is there anything else you've been prescribed in the past that you've either stopped taking or chosen not to take?
I was prescribed like Duloxetine a few years ago, but I don't take it.
So Duloxetine for anxiety?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then I go through all the, just one extra thing that I was able to pull out of it. I go through and it looks like it's gonna be, shoe in America legal, and I ask the question, is there anything else you've been prescribed in the past that you stopped taking or chose not to take? He goes, yeah, blood thinner. That changes the entire underwriting. If I wouldn't ask that question, I would have went through a whole bunch of time, wasted it, found out at the end if I would just dug a little bit deeper. Now I have to pivot to another carrier, I have to figure out exactly what went wrong. But if you can actually show up prepared to call your manager, you're gonna have a much better experience in the home. Number 7, we're gonna show them quotes. Number 8, we're gonna see if they qualify. So I wanna go through a couple of things that are in my bag, and then what we're gonna do is we're going to actually talk about what the word track is real quick before I have to jump off of here on what I actually say to get the void checked and how I tie the appointment. So in my bag, I have a pre-done folder for every single client. They're just generic folders, I'm not putting their lead card or anything in it, but inside of that folder, it's my business card, this why life insurance, it's a little bit sappy, but I put it in there, and then I've got the financial inventory, the client profile, and the credibility sheet. Every time that I walk into a home, I pull that out, and then I also, at the end of the appointment, I pull out a manila folder. Okay, a manila folder, I'm creating a file for them, for my office. Once again, we're increasing credibility and we're reducing sales pressure, because I'm not just some kid who came over to sell them insurance. I'm creating a file to take back to my office. I'm leaving them a folder behind with my business card with all of their policy information, versus the person who walks out with, they leave them a sticky note with their policy number on it and a phone number. The next guy's gonna come in behind you and replace that policy, whereas they have a nice folder with all of that policy information in it. So that's kind of what I do in the home. And when it comes to getting the voided check, I sit down with Clay, I write out the 3 options. My manager says, hey, your budget, they've got about $500 left over. He has, you see 65, he's a smoker. Based on the underwriting, it looks like you can go Americo. I'd show him 30, 20, 10. Okay, 30,000, 20,000, 10,000. I'm just gonna make up some numbers. 30,000 is 300, 20,000 is 200, and 10,000 is 100. So, Clay, based on these options, which one of these makes the most sense, or how can we adjust?
The middle option works best for me.
And most people choose the middle option. Now, here's another key that I would recommend, is that whenever somebody chooses the bottom option, what that means is that the middle option is just a little bit too expensive, but the bottom option makes sense. Then I follow up with Clay and I say, okay, that bottom option makes sense, the middle one was just a little bit too expensive, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what's the maximum amount of money that you'd be willing to put out for insurance, and let me look for the maximum amount of coverage I can get you?
200 is too much, or 200 is too much. I can do 150.
150. So I just got another $50 of premium out of him because he picked the bottom option. The second option was just a little bit too much. Now I went from 100 to 150 just by asking him, what's the most amount that you'd be willing to invest into your insurance, so I can look for the most amount of coverage I can possibly get you. Now I write down in between those two options, 15,000 for 150. Now I go ahead and I submit the request for coverage. Before that, of course, all right, perfect, Clay, 15,000. Can you just do me a favor? Can you go ahead and grab your driver's license and either avoid a check or something with banking and go on? Go for it.
Okay. Why do you need that?
So what we're gonna do here, Clay, is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna submit a request for coverage. In submitting a request for coverage, we're gonna find out if you're even eligible. The insurance companies, I don't need your information. That's number one. Americo needs your information. They need, number one, a copy of your driver's license. I'm gonna have to input your social security number in so they can find out that you are who you say you are. And they're gonna want a valid bank account on file because they wanna make sure that if this policy is approved, you have an enforced policy. So God forbid, if you walked outside tomorrow and you got hit by a bus, you're covered. Does that make sense?
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, perfect. So go ahead and grab your driver's license and avoid a check, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. So at that point, I'm submitting an application, and at that point I start building rapport. So a lot of people are like, well, where was the rapport? Well, I walked in the door and I was straight down to business. And now at that point, there's a couple of questions that come up in the home, or they come up in the application, like, how long have you lived here? And where were you born? Now it's just naturally as I'm pulling those things out, so Clay, how long y'all lived here?
About 7 years.
Perfect, 7 years in the application, okay. And you always been living around here? Where were you born?
I was born in Ohio.
Born in Ohio. What city in Ohio?
Cleveland.
Oh, Cleveland, okay, I got some friends who went to school there, perfect. All right, I grabbed the information that I needed, I already got the social, I got the banking, I have everything that I need. I got the voided check, all the way through. So, last thing, I'll jump off the stage here. I write down their policy info at the top of the credibility sheet. I write down Americo, the Eagle Premier Whole Life, benefit 15,000, the premium $150, the policy number AM006589. You guys know how it goes. And then I write down the effective date, 5/5/2021. I write down my office manager Samantha's name and her phone number, and I say, hey Clay, here's how it's gonna work. We're gonna go ahead, we just submitted the request for coverage. If this is approved, my office manager Samantha, she's gonna call you in the next couple days. If I'm writing a policy on a Tuesday or Wednesday, Samantha's gonna call you Thursday morning. If I'm writing a policy on Friday, Saturday, Samantha's gonna call you on Monday morning. And she's gonna let you know if this has been approved. And if this has been approved, you're gonna see a draft of $150 come out of your account in about 2 to 4 business days. And you'll have an enforced policy. And if something happens to you, you'll be covered. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay, perfect. Last thing, can you pull out your phone? I just wanna make sure that you have my cell phone number right here. I open back up that original folder. I say, this is my business card. This is my personal cell phone number. The number that I called you on, that was originally my office line. So if you call that number, you're not gonna get anybody. But if you call me directly, I'll be available for you. Now, here's what I want you to know. I got this bright green folder here, okay? It's really hard to lose. I want your name on the front. You got a place where you keep your important documents? Yes. Okay, perfect. When this policy comes in the mail, if you're approved, I need you to keep this all together. I need you to put it in an important spot. I need you to let you know your daughter Mary exactly where it is. And I need you to let Mary know that if something happens, I want her to call me and not the insurance company. She can call the insurance company, but let's be honest, Clay, you pass away, it's the worst day of her life. She's mourning, and the last thing that she needs to do is wait on hold with the insurance company for 2 hours and spend a week trying to figure out a death claim. You call me, you call my office, we'll get it taken care of because I'm married to you for life. Is that fair?
Fair.
Perfect. All right, Clay, it was a pleasure to meet you, and we'll call you on Monday.
Thank you.
All right. Increase credibility, reduce sales pressure. That's it. You do that by providing structure in the home. The more confident you are in what the process is, the stronger your open, the less objections you're gonna get, And you're not gonna get any problem at the end when it comes to closing the deal. Of course, do I still get objections? Absolutely. But I get a vast number less than I did when I had not a strong open. So open strong, do things that increase your credibility. They won't feel the sales pressure. They'll trust you, and they'll put a policy in place, and they'll protect your family. So thank you guys so much.
So, how much did you write last month personally?
63.
He says that he's disappointed. $63,000 last month, you guys. That was
I'm going for 75.
Hey, I think a lot of people would be happy making $63,000 a month, but hey, if you set a big goal and you fall short, you still do pretty well. So, and you must live in a super heavily populated area to write $63,000, right?
Yeah. Grady says I live on a farm in the middle of nowhere.
So, what's like the closest major city? And how far is it from
The
where you
city I
live?
live in, it is 50,000 people, but not a lot of leads come in, so I'm driving minimum 45 minutes. On average, hour and a half. I do probably 250 to 350 miles every single day I'm in the field.
Okay, so
And I come home every day.
comes home every day, 250 to 350 miles every single field day, and he's selling 60,000 plus a month. So it goes to show that there's no excuses. Go where the leads are, and you guys can have a lot of success like Jamie. So good job, dude.